this opportunity to share my thoughts with you all. I would try to keep it as concise as possible. Although it is a very difficult topic to cover in this short time, strategic thinking, something which is not really taught as a course. This is something which we learn over time with experience, and this is something which comes from inside of which we have to learn by ourselves. So not quite an easy task to do, but what I will do is that I will try to cover it as much as possible. And I will try to leave you all with some thoughts and some ideas which you can think about. So with this, we'll start the session. So with this, we'll start the session. I will start with a very brief introduction of myself. Currently partnering home care division and leading competitive intelligence and NRM functions for Unilever Pakistan. Is my screen visible? Because I cannot see it. So is my screen visible? Can anybody confirm in comments? All right. So moving on. First thing which I will want to talk about is strategic thinking as a topic. That what is strategic thinking, and how I have divided this session is that I have broken it down into four key agendas or 40 key contents or 4 key parts thinking. And secondly, how to think strategically. Third, how to become a strategic thinker. And four, how to implement your strategic thought. The reason being that only understanding to think strategically or only understanding that what is a strategic thinking is not enough. Because until and unless you implement it, you will not be able to So let me know just in case my screen is visible. Strategic thinking. And the first one or the most important one is increasingly essential. That is, strategic thinking is now becoming increasingly essential. What does it mean? So we are going through times where complexity of the business processes and complexity of everything is increasing day by day. It is getting difficult to take decisions. It is getting difficult to maintain business models. The business models are changing every day. New channels are emerging. New products are coming in. There is innovation every other day. So everything is changing. So I will not be able to say the same as my CM tomorrow. And so everything around us is changing, which is giving rise to complexity. And so that now the question is that how do we manage this complexity? Statistics, 79% CEOs around the globe think that complex only about less than 50% of them at the leadership world not able to consider themselves prepared to be able to manage the increasing complexities. So now the question is that how will it be managed? There needs to be a plan, there needs to be a strategy to manage it, and there needs to be some thought around it, there needs to be some thinking around it, and hence strategic thinking is important. Also, organizations are launching an average of 5 major change projects every year. So with this kind of change happening every year, who will decide that what projects to do and what projects not to do? Who will decide what projects to do and what projects not to do? Who will decide what projects to do and what projects not to do? projects to prioritize and what projects not to prioritize. So again, strategic thinking is required and is becoming increasingly essential to be able to lead those changes. Now, moving on, the next key reason for needing to think strategically is value creation. So you cannot create value in today's environment until and unless you have strategic thinking in place, until and unless you think strategically. And I will share the examples of three types of organizations. So generally, the organizations can be classified into three types. First one are trailblazers. Who are trailblazers? Trailblazers are those organizations which create something new or which lead the change. And then second type of organizations are followers. Who are followers? Followers are those organizations which follow the leaders or which follow the trailblazers. And then there are third one, which are regressors. Once the change has happened, they do not respond to it, even they do not follow, and they keep wondering what to do. And sooner or after they go out of the market and they are not able to keep pace with the market. So there are three types of organizations. You either have to be a trailblazer or you have to be a follower. Now the question is, why is strategic thinking related to it? Because in order to be a trailblazer, you need to be a strategic thinker. You cannot be a trailblazer until and unless you think about what is going to happen in future, and until and unless you prepare yourself for future and create something for future. You cannot be a trailblazer. And in order to create value, for the organization, in order to create value for the broader stakeholders, in order to create value for the society, in order to create value for the shareholders, you need to be a trailblazer. And so you need strategic thinking. And that's why strategic thinking is important to create value or for value creation. And I will share some examples without taking names of any companies. So in the past, we have seen that there is a huge shift towards health consciousness. And what happened as a result of health consciousness? The demand for breakfast cereals plummeted or went down or dropped down in the past 5 to 6 years in the Western world. So breakfast cereals used to be a high growing market a couple of decades back, but now it has gone into a decline in the Western world. So only those companies which could predict it and which could change their product line and which could come up with the new innovations survive that change. On the other hand, there were big companies who were large producers of cereals, breakfast cereals in the world, but their share prices actually fell down or dropped down significantly. Why? Because they couldn't expect this change, they couldn't predict this change, or they couldn't respond to this change timely. And so strategic thinking was missing there, and so they went out of business very soon. Also, taking another example of smartphones. So what happened in a smartphones industry? There were companies which were leaders in the phone industry or mobile phone industry. But as this disruption or this change came in, the shift came in from normal phones or the usual phones to smartphones, what happened was that many companies went out of the business. There were large companies who couldn't keep pace with that change, and there were new players came in and new players took the share. And the old players actually went out of business. And so strategic thinking was missing there. Is it still slow or has it become any better? All right. So moving on to the next part, which is next example, which is Netflix. So I remember back in the days, a decade back, analysts used to write or analysts used to say that this company Netflix will go bankrupt. So overall, the view on the Wall Street was about a decade and a half back that the Netflix will go bankrupt because it is operating in losses. But guess what happened? It didn't go bankrupt. didn't go bankrupt, it survived. Not only did it survive, but it was able to, and its stock price is skyrocketed since that time. Why? Because the leadership of that company was able to predict the change, and the leadership was able to think strategically and come up with the strategy of future. So again, in order to create value, strategic thinking is very important. Moving on to the third thing, which is why is strategic thinking important. So third key reason is that it is not only important for company or the organization, but it is important for you as an individual as well. In Pakistan, there are 500,000 university graduates every year. So within those 500,000 university graduates, only a few are able to reach the leadership position throughout the country. And so it is not decide what to the change your kid is for you started. Then how do you respond to that change, or how do you actually think strategically? So again, I will talk about three key areas or three key action points which you should work on in order to think strategically. And the first one is very simple, which is why. So remember, what have brought you here will not take you further. This why word is very important. That is, you need to, in order to think strategically, you need to ask questions. You need to question everything and anything which is happening around you. So I will share some examples with you again here. So think about your school time and your university times. You will study what you are asked to do. You will never question that why is this happening, why is it moving like this. You will question that why is it moving like this. Why is it moving like this? Why is it moving like this? So you will be good grades and good marks. And same thing happens in your initial career as well. That is, if you do what you are asked to do, you will rise, or you will be able to rise in your career. You will have a good career. What I usually say is that here you need to take inspiration from a 5-year-old kid. So think about a 5-year-old kid who asks too many whys, that why is this happening? Why is this not happening? Why is it moving like this? Why are the cars moving? Why are we using petrol? Why are we stopping on signal? So that why question, like so think about a 5-year-old. 5-year-old जिस तरह से वो why पूछता है, या जिस तरह से they question each and everything happening around them, that is what you need to take inspiration from. So when into a career, or when working with an organization, you need to have that why in place. You need to ask questions. You need to ask everything and challenge everything, because that's how you will find value. Otherwise, you will not be able to change, and you will not be able to find the change which is required. So in order to rise in order to rise in the organizations to the leadership position, that why, or being able to create that question why, being able to come up with an answer to that, will be very important. Just doing what you are doing is not enough. Knowing the reason why you are doing that is also important. And I will share an example of the divestiture of spreads business by Unilever in the past years. So Unilever divested its spreads business, which was Blue Band in Pakistan. This is the business which have been with Unilever since very start. And this is the business with which Unilever has had very strong emotional attachment. And this was a part of the company. but someone in the company or someone in the leadership was able to identify or was able to raise this question, why do we have this business? Is it adding value to ourselves? Is it strategically aligned with our company priorities or not? Is it something which we want to do in future, or do we want to focus on something else? Is it something which somebody else can run better than us? Is it something which we are able to focus on or not? And with those why questions, the answer was that it will be better if we diversify our portfolio. Divest this business. Someone else would be able to run it better. And question actually led to divestiture of that business, which wasn't easy. So hence, this is very important. On next key thing in order to think strategically is observation. So if you spend all your time on doing what you are asked to do, important for that which you need, and for thinking you need time. Changing, you need to observe what trends are changing, what new models are emerging, what is happening around you, and you need to observe everything and every changing trend, because if you are not able to observe the trend timely, you will not be able to identify the opportunities, and you will not be able to become a trailblazer. So your success is not only dependent on you doing what you are asked to do, but you are observing something before your competitor. You observing something before someone else does, because only then will you be able to identify and capitalize on the opportunities, and only then will you be able to do what you have to do. So that why hence is very important. That observation thing is also very important in addition to why. And now I will again share some examples on it. So again, the same example which I shared just a while back, which was of Netflix. That is, the leadership was able to observe the change towards digital streaming. They believed in it. They came up with a strategy and were able to execute it and were able to land it. And again, what led to this acquisition was observation. That is, Unilever was able to observe the change in the digital streaming in Asia, and so they were able to change their strategy and they were able to change their strategy new to Unilever detergents. Again, the thinking behind was that there was that there was observation, fabric, and so they were able to high amount of surf example, which is solar panels. So recently, Unilever changed their increasing significantly. And the observation was that in order to have a sustainable future, we need to move towards green energy. And so ideas were explored, and someone observed this trend towards green energy, and so we transitioned to green energy. And so is very important. Without observation, you will not be able to good observation. You will not be able to think strategically. And the third key thing is prioritization. So guess what? Let's say that you have asked the question why and you have an answer to it. Let's say that you have asked the question why and you have an answer to it. Let's say that you have observed something and you have an idea to for it. But now, if you do not follow this strategy, you will not be able to land it. In these days of rapidly changing environment, you will not be able to land it. And so, what happened? So that means in order to land a strategic thought, you do not also you need to prioritize. You need to take out some time to do it. And I will share a personal example here. So a couple of years back, I was given a task three factors how to think strategically is having that question why, to make out time and being able to create space to actually do what you want to do. Why do we need a strategic thinking? And then we discuss how to think strategically. And now we will move on to the third part, which is how to become a strategic thinker. Someone can post either on chat or in comments. Can someone confirm if my screen is visible and I am audible? All right, so I will assume that I am audible and the screen is visible. Since there is no response. So moving on to the third part, which is how to become a strategic thinker. So firstly, be futuristic. And what I mean by being futuristic? It means do not only focus on what has happened or what is happening. Focus on what all can happen in future, or what all can go wrong or right in future. So only knowing what has happened or what is happening is not enough. In today's environment, you need to be futuristic. You need to dream. Nothing is impossible. You need to dream. You need to think that what can happen in future, what all can change in future. Think about times a couple of decades back. Would anyone have thought about this video conferencing thing? It wouldn't be even at the back of their minds कि video conferencing thing could ever be a possibility. किसी ने सोचा भी नहीं होगा कि एक जगह कोई बैठा होगा और दूसरी जगह कोई उसको सुन सकता होगा और देख सकता होगा. But it is a reality now. Similarly, there would be things which masses wouldn't be thinking today, but will be a reality in a decade's time, or will be a reality in 5 to 6 years. But if you can think it, you can prepare yourself. So being futuristic is very important. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't look at past. Look at the past as well. But when you are looking at the past, also question that why did something happen which happened? What was the reason for it? And can that actually repeat itself in future or not? So everything and anything which you think about should, or which you observe, should relate to future. So try relating everything to future. So be futuristic. And if you can anticipate a trend, prepare yourself for it, or get into it. And here again, I will share an example. So, like Munchies is a venture by Unilever, Pakistan. So, Unilever has not ever been in a business of having any app as such, but Unilever launched an app for ice cream delivery, and the thought behind that was that eventually everything is going online, then why can't ice cream go online? So why can't ice cream be ordered online? And there was that wide space, and that for that a new venture which is Munchies was launched. So being futuristic is important for success, or this is what will differentiate you from all others as a thinker. Then next is reading. Reading means reading books or reading articles, reading blogs, reading anything which was of interest of you, or reading news. And a lot of times you get a lot of ideas from reading, because when you are reading something, uh, you tend to get or understand the thinking of someone else, and that can provide you with some ideas of how some change is happening. And also, if you're reading news, it can give you some opportunity or tell you of an opportunity. So again, I will give you an example. So a big or large investment with the name of Project Raftar made by Unilever in the past years was a result of reading. That is, someone read about a news, someone read about a change in regulations, and that someone actually brought that change in regulations to the respective teams, and then they acted upon it and were able to create a large value by making that huge investment. So idea can come from anywhere, and so be open to it, and reading could be a great source of ideas as well. And the third one is networking. So you on your own can think up to an extent, but in order to broaden your thinking, you need to take diverse ideas. You need to solicit diverse ideas and information. And so connecting with diverse group of people, it could be professors, it could be industry professionals, it could be young generation, it could be kids, or it could be anyone. So connecting with anyone or listening to anyone can actually help you get some ideas, can actually help you broaden your thinking, and can actually help you build an external orientation. Because a lot of times we are in the bubble of our own thoughts, and we are not able to see beyond it. We are only able to see up to an extent and not able to see beyond it. And so that networking is very important. That is interacting with diverse group of people, and soliciting ideas from them, entering into discussions with them. This can really help come up with the ideas, and can really help actually um, get breakthrough ideas and form a strategy. So this is how you can become a strategic thinker. These are the three key elements which you should have. So we have covered first three parts, and now we'll move on to the fourth one, which is how to implement your strategic thought. So again, focusing on the same point, that only being able to come up with a strategy, or only being able to come up with a thought, a strategic thought, is not enough. You should be able to implement it as well. Because until and unless you implement it, you will not be able to generate value. So having a strategic thought which is not implemented is as good as not having a strategic thought. And so how do you implement it? How do you make it a success? So first key tactic from my end is, which I would like to share, is pre-meets. So remember, you cannot just take a strategy and unveil it for the first time to a large group of people on a big forum, because you would have spent a lot of time thinking about it. And when you unveil it, there will be certain challenges, there will be certain questions, and maybe you do not have enough time to answer all of those. You do not have enough time to clarify everything. And so pre-meeting helps. So identify the important stakeholders, and then separately before that big meeting, make sure that you individually connect with them, share your bounce of your ideas with them, and see if there are any concerns, and then prepare your responses to those, so that when you take your strategy to the final forum, most of the people would have a good understanding of it already, and so it will be easier for them to understand it, and you would have incorporated their feedbacks as well. So pre-meetings and stakeholding really helps. Then set your goals. So strategy is a macro strategy. Your strategic thought in your mind will be a macro idea. You will need to convert it into micro actions. So you need to convert that vision, that strategy, into action points. That is to take. That is what action actions will you take, what goal will you want to achieve in order to reach that destination, what route will you take, what all routes are available, what are the alternates available, and so have that plan ready. What is the action plan in order to for the manifestation of that particular strategic thought which you are keeping in your mind. And then governance, it is equally important. That is, once you have landed it, then keeping a check on it. Are you achieving what you plan to achieve? Is there a change required? Have the environment around you changed? Is it actually living up to the expectations or not? Is the strategy good enough? Do we need to change it? Do we need to build? Do we need to have any adjustments to it? So that governance is very important. Are we on track to achieve it? Is it happening timely? So that governance is very important. And for governance, you do not necessarily need to have a particular forum. If this is something which is dependent completely on you, if this is something which you have to do for yourself, then you can keep one of your colleagues or any of your friend or anyone as a checkpoint as well for your accountability. That is like keeping an accountability partner. So for example, if you come up with a strategic thought that you need to upskill yourself, and you need to do some courses in order to learn some skills for your success, then maybe you can have an accountability partner who periodically reminds you about it, or who periodically asks you about it after every week or after every month, that what is your progress on it, so that you are being constantly reminded about it and you are constantly actually working on it. So that periodic reminder, that periodic accountability is very important, and that periodic governance is very important in order to implement the right strategic thought. So these are the 4 things which I wanted to discuss today. Why do we need strategic thinking? What is its importance? How to think strategically, how to become a strategic thinker, and then how to implement your strategic thought. Given the limited time which we have had, I'm not sure if I was able to cover it right, but I think it will leave you with some thoughts and with some ideas which you can explore going forward, or which you can think about more, and then you can prepare a strategy of your own. Before we end this session, I think the key thing which I want to emphasize on is strategic thinking is not only about having a strategy in an organization, or it is not only about any organization. It is about you as an individual as well. You as an individual needs to have a strategic thinking in order to be successful in your careers. So you need to know what is changing around you. You need to know what are the ingredients required to be successful in your careers, or to be successful in whatever you do. And for that, you need to spend time into thinking. And for that, you need to ask the questions why, and then observe what is happening around you. And then you should be able to implement that change as well. So it could be anything. It could be learning a new skill. It could be getting a new qualification. It could be getting a new experience. It could be anything. So, but you need to spend time into thinking what you need to do and why do you do what you do. That why question is very important. And why do you need to do something, and why do you not need to do something? And that can actually help you create a significant difference in your careers, and lead you to the path of success. So thank you so much. If there are any questions, you can post it on comments. Otherwise, we are good to go. All right. So if there is nothing further, I think we can end the session here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Zabis team, for inviting me to the session. Thank you so much, all the audience, for for bearing with me for this time period, and taking out time to listen to me. So thank you all. Bye. Allah Hafiz.